All right, we got a guest joining us today on the show. The Star Mechanical guest line brought to you by one of Edmonton's biggest locally owned and operated plumbing and heating businesses, best in the area for the last 20 years. Find out more at starmechanical.ca. We bring Carter Hutton into the show, who's got a pretty mean muzzy going as well. What's up, Carter?
I hope you guys would notice that right away. I'm supporting Stuart Skinner with this thing out here.
He needs it.
Stuart Skinner should try supporting the Oilers a little bit.
Keep the stash. You gotta clean the mojo, man.
Clean shaven Stu.
How's everybody doing out there? How's your mental health out in Edmonton?
But you do anything, like put your underwear on up inside out. Like you gotta change it up.
Carter, were you superstitious when you played?
Not crazy. I definitely had a routine. I tried to just convince myself that I was really good. Even if I had to fake it, I just tried to convince myself no matter what happened, I was good. But I stuck to a routine for sure. And if things weren't going well, I'd be the first one to mix it up, find something different, tape my stick different, change my warm up a little bit. But for the most part, as I got on in my career, I was just trying to survive for the most part. But yeah, it's tough times right now, and it seems like it's everywhere across the league. But this is what we wanted. We wanted the NHL that was open and goal scoring, and it was not good for goalies, and now we're getting it.
Who's we? Anyways, let's talk about Jack Campbell a little bit. Going down to Bakersfield, I think the sense, at least according to Frank Saravalli, is that they're going to give him an honest chance to find his game down there, and if he does, they'll bring him back. When you watch Jack Campbell, is there any hope for this guy, or is he just no longer an NHL goalie?
No, I think there's hope, right? Like it's not like he came from a team that was good defensively either, right? He played for Toronto and they struggled and he dealt with it. I think it's just like I talked about a little bit earlier in the year with you, like with the decompression of getting that big contract and then kind of slipping away from your game. And now where do you find it when things aren't going well? It's hard to find. So maybe a little time for him to refresh could be good. I think what plays in his favor is his maturity. He's been around the game a long time. He's been around the league a long time. He knows how it works. If it's a younger guy, like if this is Stuart Skinner, I'm way more worried about it. What toll does it have? He only has a year under his belt, where Jack can maybe get some better reps in and get some good games and maybe play well. And then all of a sudden snowball that into getting back in the league and playing well.
I'm not sure if you've had this experience before, but what's it like when you see someone who is an established NHL player like Jack Campbell get sent down to the American Hockey League? Does it really shake up the room like it's supposed to?
I think so. I believe the guys in Edmonton right now are upset at themselves as well, right? Like, I don't think anyone's trying to pass him off as a scapegoat. The boys are wearing that. Like, they want Jack to be part of the team. He's a likable guy. He's a good person. And when anyone gets sent down, it's tough in that sense. It's different when you're on an entry-level contract and you're just moving up and down, but this is your guy. He's your goalie. And, part of him is to blame, right? You have to stop pucks, and that's the position. Like, you wear it on your sleeve when you're the goalie. But in the same sense, the team as a whole knows that they haven't been good enough, not for him, not for Skinner, not for anybody. So in that sense, I feel like this is going to be a kick in the butt to them to get going. And no matter who's in net, they need to play better.
Yeah, I think that is kind of the bottom line here. And for the next little bit, it's going to be Stuart Skinner getting the bulk of the starts, obviously. He hasn't been good either. Again, we talked with Frank yesterday, and Frank was like, hey, if Skinner was waiver eligible, he would be the one going down, not Jack Campbell. Obviously not the case. Do you have any confidence that this is just a tough stretch for Stuart Skinner? Like, can he be the guy we saw last year? Or is this maybe another case of a rookie who comes in and is red hot and then the league figures them out?
I think right now it's just a confidence thing with Skinner. He has this tool set. You look at him, like, for me, I've never been a Jack Campbell #1 guy. I never believed in it. I never thought when they signed him that was the meal ticket. He just doesn't have the presence in the net. You look at him, he's smaller. He doesn't feel like even his shoulder pads, his chest barely looks like a beer leaguer in the net, to be totally honest, compared to in my years playing against guys when other goalies have presence in the nets. Skinner looks like a pro to me. He gets in the net. He's a big body. He moves well, but watching his games recently, you can tell he's lacking confidence. He's outside the crease when he shouldn't be. He's kind of second guessing. And in my experience is playing on good teams versus playing on bad teams. Sometimes when you're struggling defensively and your game isn't there, you almost try to do too much. And then it starts to, again, like just things, you can't play that way. Things snowball on you. You're trying to do too much. And the game nowadays moves so fast east-west because you can't hold anybody up.
I just want to talk about how Jack looks in the net, because when you see him and Skinner out of their equipment, they're like two giant humans.
Yeah.
So is he just wearing smaller equipment?
Yeah, he just doesn't wear the same gear and like present himself as well. I always felt the same way like early in my career versus later. It's almost like I made changes to present myself bigger. I got bigger chest protector. I found different ways to wear my suspenders to like jack up my shoulder pads. So you find every which way to cheat, and that's why they have the NHL checking our gear. But with Jack, I just look at him and it just doesn't give me that feel. Like he doesn't have shoulders on him. He doesn't have, and the game's hard enough to play as it is. Like, why not try to have that edge? When I see Stuart Skinner, he looks more like a well-groomed pro that fills more net. He has a presence. It's just like when you see Markstrom or you see Hellebuck, you see these bigger goalies, just their presence on the rink, it helps stop pucks. There's like, I know you guys are talking about Wolf there a little bit, but size matters, right? There's just certain times where pucks hit you, and Skinner just has a better presence in the net than Campbell, in my opinion.
Well, how's that process work with the league checking gear? Like, how often do they come in to do it? Do you have any heads up, or is it like a piss test in the NFL where you just like show up one game and they're like, "Ah, come here, we're checking your shit."
So for the most part, the only time I ever got tested, I remember, I think it was like my first year I was playing well in Winnipeg. As I came off the rink, Kay Whitmore and one of his assistants was there, and then they had the stuff to measure my gear right after a game in Winnipeg. That was the only time that it was just a spot check on me. Every other time it was like during the day, pregame skate, like the trainers knew he was coming in, so they were smart about it. And then during the summer, when you would get your gear, factories would send it to Kay. He checks it, and every single set of gear you get has his signature on it that's been signed off on. So when he's checking gear, it's got to match his signature. So if you technically want it, I'm sure there's lots of ways you could pull strings and change gear and have different stuff on the go, because they're not that, specific on it. I just think in total, unless someone's saying I'm a red flag, something shady's going on, I don't think they're really checking as much as people think.
So the NHL has a maximum. Maybe they should set a minimum, and then Jack has to step up his gear.
Yeah, seriously.
I was reading through your career stats. Like, you came into the league in that first year with the Preds, played 40 games and had like really damn good numbers, 262 and a 910. Skinner obviously had a very good year in his first full season in the league. Did you notice in your second year, did it get more difficult? Did you get a feel that like, okay, guys might have a book on what my weaknesses are, or is that something we just kind of make up in the media?
No, I think that's realistic, right? It's even a sense of like you've taken a step back. That first year you're playing on so much more emotion, right? Like every game is so important, and you're just trying to cut your teeth and stay there and not lose a job. And then all of a sudden for me, I got a 2-year extension after my first year. And before that, I was 2 years removed from making $40,000 a year in the American League. Right. So now I signed a 2-year deal worth, $750,000 a year. There is a natural setback, right? We talk about Jack Campbell getting that big ticket and just having that little bit of a setback. It's hard not to mentally kind of decompress a bit, where I think for me, teams do learn you as well, but I think it's you trying to hold yourself accountable and honest. And for Skinner, the sky's the limit. So I don't see this as like a giant setback. Teams figuring him out. He's too well of a goalie for, I think, for that to totally happen.
Maybe Tootsies too. Maybe.
Yeah, that got, well, honestly, my first year Rene was hurt and I was like under the gun playing. And then the next year Rene was so good. It was like, I would play a game and I knew I had like 2 weeks between starts. So it'd be like, I just like look at the calendar, be like, okay, I can go with this night, then I'll give myself 4 days to try to regroup and get back for my start.
Yeah, you're right. Like, you played 40 games in your rookie year, and that next year you started 17.
What a loser, eh? I always used to joke, when I go to my kids' hockey, I just tell them, like, they ask me if I would coach. I said, I do all my coaching. I just work the door. That's my go-to. I'm real good in that area.
You joined Nick Alberga, our pal on Leafs Morning Take, a handful of times every couple of weeks. The Leafs right now, I mean, they are absolutely lost. Not granted Oilers level, but they are struggling. I think they've lost 5 of 6 right now. Samsonov is really hurting. Joseph Woll gave up a ton of goals last night against Ottawa. Is that a goalie issue in Toronto, or is that they don't know how to play defense issue?
I think it's a bit of both. I think Samsonov needs to find his game as well. He looks like a lost puppy out there. I talk about being like efficient and moving in the crease. He misses his post. He's flopping around. It just doesn't look clean, especially when you compare him to goalies that we've seen, like watching Demko the other night against the Oilers. Just every single time he's going to his post, he's like efficient. He hits it. He's in position. He never has any over movement where the puck starts moving around the offensive zone or the defensive zone for the Leafs. Samsonov is just sliding around, flopping around. He never kind of finds his post, where when I watch Joseph Woll, he looks like he's ready to go. Like, granted, last night wasn't his best performance, but in majority of his games, he looks like he's ready to go. And I think it's time for them to give him the keys to the castle. Just like with Skinner, they need him to run with it, but they got to find someone that's serviceable. I think at this point, even having Martin Jones in like waiting in the minors is another guy that has a lot of experience that can get the job done. But for right now, it's been a bit of a nightmare for here as well.
Last one I have for you is just about the team down south in Alberta. Dustin Wolf is coming up from the American League. Dan Vladar has really struggled as the Flames back up. Their team 5-on-5 save percentage worse in the league. Is Dustin Wolf legit?
Yeah, he is. He is very legit.
Yeah,
He is like your next wave UC Saros. I don't think he presents them as well. I talk about gear. I talk about being bigger. UC's like a little brick wall. Like doesn't look like holes. Wolf is a little skinnier. He's thin. He's like smaller in the crease, but he does everything so well. When you're not 6'5", or you're not 6'4", and you're playing at a smaller height, he measures in at 6 feet. It sure doesn't look like it. You have to do everything just that much better. And he does. He literally is one of those guys that has perfected the position. He is always on. But now the biggest thing I would say is the AHL, you're going to give up a little more bit of a breakdowns because the defense isn't as good. But guys in the NHL don't miss their shots. Guys are, it's just better high quality chances. And it's going to be interesting to see how he does. I'm excited for this. I think he's awesome. And I am pumped that I hate how teams sometimes wait and wait and wait and wait. Just if the guy's getting it done, get him in there, get him playing.
Maybe the Oilers should try that with Olivier Rodrigue right now, or Cal Picard.
Yeah, Picard. I mean, he's got good numbers in the American League. That's interesting. The point you kind of made though about how less defensive, or there should be less like defensive zone breakdowns, sloppy play at the NHL level compared to the AHL. So, like, do you read anything into Picard's good numbers in the American League? Do you sit there and go, hey, like he should be confident? Maybe he can slide up and give the Oilers a good start.
Yeah, I think so for sure. And mindset and feel and like how everyone knows that goaltending is a streaky position. And sometimes just getting a guy in the right rhythm and running with it is all that matters, right? I feel like for me in my prime, when I was playing a lot of games and playing well, you just wanted more games. Like, let's just keep them coming. You almost get to a flow state where you don't even know what day it is. You're just playing, things are rolling well. But on the other side of it, when things are bad, oh my God, like every day, every practice, everything just gets magnified, right? Like the anxiety goes through the roof, where if you got a guy that's playing well, let's get him games, get him rolling. I used to always have this conversation with Lean Stallmark. Just he would complain about being tired or whatever. Like, this guy was so good. He wouldn't even get tired in a game. And I would be like always explaining to him if I was out, like, this is where you want to pile the games on. This is where you make your money. This is where you like establish your name, right? And I think for these younger guys and staff, if you can make it work in the salary cap, who's ever playing, let's get them rolling.
All right, let's see if the Oilers goalies can turn it around tonight. Carter Hutton joining us live from the sprawling metropolis of Thunder Bay, Ontario. I like to think you only join us because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah, I love you guys though. Don't worry, trust me. It's all good. It's sunny out here today, so we're winning.
All right, Carter Hutton on the Star Mechanical guest line. We passed your number along to Ken Holland, buddy. Keep the ringer on.
Yeah, we'll see.